CAD and CAM technology into one complete integrated solution. So I don't have the benefit of the clicker. Okay, so who's it aimed for? Well, we have artisans on one side and we have engineers on the other. And we want to bridge the gap between those two fields. So we have this integrated CAD-CAM software which enables the artisans to take their designs, their sketches, even their ideas and translate them into realistic manufacturable products. So ArtCAM is broken up into a range of product packages in order to accommodate everybody's needs. So at the base of the range, we have ArtCAM Express. So this is our most basic package for ArtCAM, and it's aimed towards the very small businesses just trying to get an idea of how they can utilize software in the business. It's even aimed towards single users who have maybe bought a CNC desktop router and they just are hobbyists. We have this piece of software which they can use. So when I think of CAD or CAM software, in my mind it's always thousands and thousands of dollars or pounds, but with ArtCAM Express it starts at the low price of $149. So it's really accessible to just anyone who wants to use it. Especially if you've bought your own hobby-making CNC router, I think spending $150 is really nothing compared to that. So with Express, you can still utilize the CAD and CAM technologies. You can bring in your 2D drawings, and then you can apply tool paths to those drawings to machine out of a range of materials. With Express, we have a number of modules which you can add on. So the base price in Express is $149. Once you get up and running, once you're happy with the software, you can add in separate modules to further enhance the functionality and the usability. Following on from Express is ArtCAM Insignia. So what this does is moves from a 2D to a 3D design. And again, it's fully incorporated within the ArtCAM software. You can import your 2D images and create 3D models from those. So with Insignia, we offer upwards of 600 different types of reliefs in a relief library, which users can utilize to build their own 3D models based off of their 2D designs or sketches. Okay, and the final, or the third in the line, is ArtCAM Pro. So building on from Express and Insignia, we have the professional version. So this is for companies who really want to lead the market in what they do. So if you think of advanced woodworking companies, engraving, we even cater to the film industry, so guys making props. Basically, the idea is that you can imagine what you create, and then with ArtCAM, you create what you can imagine. So the limits are kind of boundless. Anything you can think of through design into a 3D model is hopefully accessible through ArtCAM Pro. So in my mind, when I think of ArtCAM Pro and I see the advanced users using it, I can compare it to photo editing tools. So you see photo editing tools where you might have a picture of a model and the guy using it is able to remove blemishes, increase the lighting, basically alter it in any way he can think of. You can do this in ArtCAM Pro as well. With your 2D drawings, your sketches, you can convert those to vectors, transform them into 3D reliefs, and basically edit them in as much ways as you can possibly think of doing. So the fourth product in the range moves towards its own specialized industry, and that is ArtCAM Jewelsmith. So Jewelsmith, obviously by the name, is catering towards jewelry. So as jewellery becomes more complex and intricate, as consumers want more customised designs, the jewellers really need to move away from the traditional jewellery making techniques. So with ArtCAM Jewelsmith, again, we have full 3D modeling capabilities combined with full CAM manufacturing technologies. So this allows jewellers to move from their traditional methods in handcrafting casts for rings, for example, into fully designing 3D models and manufacturing them within the same software. So you can see here some pretty intricate examples. This is a miniature model carriage, a royal carriage to be exact, and it's all created within ArtCAM Jewelsmiths. This ring here, I'm almost 100% sure, not possible to actually create by hand because of the intricate details on the feathers. But through Jewelsmith, it gives a traditional jeweler a method to realise their own ideas and their drawings. Okay, so our 4 plans: the basic beginner version, ArtCAM Express. It gives the user the feeling of using software for the first time maybe. Once they're happy and comfortable with it, they can build up with modules. Then for smaller type businesses, they can move on to ArtCAM Insignia. Then we have Pro, and then finally Jewelsmith. So you're not only limited to using CNC type machines for manufacturing your models. We also allow the export of STL files through 3D printing. So Autodesk have developed an open source platform for creating 3D STL files for 3D printing. And that is the Spark platform. To fully realize its capabilities, they then developed the Ember 3D printer. So the Ember 3D printer utilizes the open source Spark platform to help people create very detailed designs very quickly through the stereolithography of liquid resins. So this is a particularly desirable tool, especially in the jewellery market. So I've seen firsthand its capabilities. With Jewelsmith, you can create your ring design, you can nest it into 10 or 20 or any amount of parts you like onto the same physical model. And then with the Ember 3D printer, you can print these extremely quickly. So it allows you to print up to 10 rings nested on the same block in 60 minutes, or up to 20 rings in up to 90 minutes. So it is really impressive to see. So coupled with the time and efficiency, it's a perfect match for using with ArtCAM Jewelsmith. So I've discussed the products. Now I just want to show you what type of things ArtCAM is used for. Because talking about software, you can't really imagine what it might be used for. So we have a huge range of industries that use it. First of all, I assume everyone in here has a phone either in their hand or in their pocket. The back of the phone might have a custom cover, help you grip it more, it might just be a nice design. So phone manufacturers utilize software, ArtCAM software, to create embosses on the covers. Also, they use it for their signage in their outlets as well. We can also make chocolate with ArtCAM. So we have printed molds using the design of the chocolate. These are then machined, chocolate's molded, and you get something nice to eat at the end of the day. Car manufacturers use ArtCAM. They need some way to imprint their designs for their badges into the mold part, and they use ArtCAM to realize this. So they bring in their 2D design, they create a 3D relief, and then they manufacture it for that. Again, I mentioned specialized jewellery outfits. So again, incredibly intricate jewellery designs can be realized through the Jewelsmith platform. If you've ever sent a birthday card, or if any of you were lucky enough to have embossed business cards, it might have been created with ArtCAM. Again, lettering can be 2D to 3D and then created ArtCAM. At your home or even in this hotel, you might see some decorative features on the doors or on the walls. So there's some woodworking features. I'm just looking around now. As they get more details, they get more complicated to machine by hand, so you can use ArtCAM to do this for you. And then finally, Peter kind of stole my thunder in releasing the percentage of mints that use ArtCAM. But around the world, so globally, 60% of mints actually use ArtCAM to print your money. So it's a really nice fact to think of. Basically, if you put your hand in your pocket, take out some change, that design is more than likely created with ArtCAM. And similar to Armo Robot, we also have a foothold in the film prop industry. So anyone with a nice memory of Lord of the Rings, there was a famous sword called Isildur. That prop was created using ArtCAM, and then more recently we have a ancient tablet created for a night at the museum too. Again, the design was brought into ArtCAM, automatically translated into a 3D model, and then manufactured. So I'm going to stop talking about it for a minute. I'm going to show you on my laptop the ease of use of ArtCAM, bringing in a drawing and translating that to a machinable 3D file. Okay, so this is the basic ArtCAM interface. You can see here I can create a new project, open an existing one, and I can create a new model or open an existing one. What I can also do is just drag it and drop an image into the interface. So this is just a standard JPEG image. So I just bring it into ArtCAM, and then I choose the model size. So the model size is just the working area for this model. I'm just going to make that 300 by 300 millimeters. So when you bring in an image, we refer to that as a bitmap. The next stage is to create a series of 2D vectors based off of that bitmap. So vectors are created by drawing an outline around colors in the image. If I zoom in on the image, you can see even some colors are only 1 pixel. In ArtCAM, it recognizes up to 256 colors. You can see here on my bottom toolbar, I can see all of the colors making up this image. So if I was to create a vector based on this image, I won't get very far, because I'd even have vectors outlining single pixels. So first thing I'm going to do is reduce the colors in my image. So if I open up the bitmap to vector tool, I can open up this icon here, reduce colors, and then I can control it using this slider. So I'm setting a maximum of the colors I can see. So if I reduce that all the way down to the end, I'm now left with 2 primary colors. It's not giving me the detail I want, so I'm just going to increase that to 3. So now I can see, if I expand again, I can still see a clear outline of the image that I want. I'm just going to change my primary color that I want ArtCAM to recognize when creating its vectors. So I just double click on this part here, and then I click Create Vectors. And instantly, 2D lines and curves are drawn around this pixelated image. So even though the pixels are blocky, there's not a very high resolution to the image, I still get a very smooth curve around those pixels. Okay, so I have my vectors. I can now work towards creating a 3D profile. So I turn to my 3D view, and you can see my model representation as a plane, and then my vectors are sitting on top of that. So first of all, I'm just going to create a primary relief. So I do this by selecting one vector, the outline vector, and then I'm going to create a round relief. So you can see, once I click round, if I turn off my vector view and rotate the model, you can see the relief added to that single vector. So I can control it, even using a slider, I'll just set the height So it's at an angle of 27 degrees. I'm good with that. Before I apply it, I'm just going to add in the starting height. So the relief is going to be slightly stepped above the starting plane. So just add in a value of 3 millimeters, and then you can see a straight height added to the bottom. So I'm just going to apply that now. Close the form. I'm going to draw my vectors again. This time I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to apply a secondary relief to the remaining vectors. So if I open up my shape editing tool, again I'm going to use a round relief, except this time I'm going to create a negative relief. So if I move the slider again to something like -30, if I just turn off my vectors, you can see this relief instantly updating in my graphics window, so I can see exactly what is happening. And this secondary relief has been added on to my primary relief. So I'm building up the 3D model as I go along. So very quickly, I've just created quite a detailed 3D model based off of a single image. So I'm just going to apply that relief again. Close it. So my customer might be happy enough with this. I can see the outline of the wolf's head. I can see quite a lot of detail making it up, including the teeth. However, I'm going to add in a texture now. So if I open up the texture relief toolbar, I'm going to control the addition of texture based on my selected vectors. And you can see I have a number of pre-built options. So I can add in a sphere. If I just click that, add it, you can see what happened to my model. So I get the spherical texturing added in between the vectors. However, what I am going to do is add a texture from a file. So I already have a file called wolf fur, which I've created outside of ArtCAM. So if I import that, it doesn't have a great resolution at the moment, so I'm just going to reduce the size to 200 millimeters. And then once I add that to my vectors, you can see it's instantly added on top of my reliefs in between the vectors that I wanted. So you can see I now have a very highly detailed model of the wolf's head. And just to clean it up before I move on to machining, I'm just going to smooth out the relief. So you can see here I have a number of smoothing passes. If I just change that to 2 and apply my fur and my total relief model, I smooth it out. So you can see the edges now have slight contours on them, and the fur has been smoothed as well. So I'm happy with my 3D model. I'm going to move on to adding tool paths. So I have tool paths options here. If I move down to 3D tool paths, I'm just going to create a basic machine relief tool path. So you can see here I have the option to add in finishing options and roughing options. If I just focus on finishing, I'm just going to select a 6mm ball nose tool. I have a number of choices of how I want to machine this. So I can use several raster choices, I can spiral, and then I can use several offset options as well. I'm just going to leave it on a typical raster. And then just before I apply the tool path, I am going to define my material. So the height of my relief is 17.726 millimeters, but I know I'm going to be machining from a block of material 20 millimeters in height. So once I enter that value, I then have to choose where my relief model sits in that block. So I have a slider here, and I'm just going to move it to the top. So this means I'm still going to have a base where my model is going to sit on. So I'm essentially creating a plank with the wolf's head. So if I OK that, I then get a graphical representation of my material block, and then I can just quickly calculate that. So in a matter of seconds, I now have a fully machinable model using raster machining. If I zoom right in, you can see the raster lines moving over the model. Just as in any other CAM software, I can simulate that toolpath. So if I just simulate it like so, you can see the raster toolpath moving over the model and a representation of the material being removed. So this is what I have left. And that is what is going to be output if I put it onto the machine. So very finally, I have one last step, and that is to just save the toolpath as a tape file. So I'm converting my toolpath into the NC program for my machine. Okay, so I've saved that. That essentially does the post-processing for me. So if I just open up the folder containing that file, open it with Notepad, you can see very simple G code making up this tape file. Okay, so in the summary of that demonstration, in a very short amount of time, I imported a bitmap image. It was just a simple JPEG. I reduced the colors, and then I created an outline vector based off of those colors. So basically 2 clicks, I moved from an image to a usable 2D drawing. I then utilized the outline of the drawing lines to create these 3D reliefs on the model. And with those reliefs, I was able to quickly and easily apply toolpaths and output that to the relevant NC program. So, thank you for your attention today. Again, I'll be around for the rest of the day, so if you have any further questions about ArtCAM, feel free to approach me. Thank you.